Kia ora. AJ Rocks interviewed Jeff Puckett. It's always really bugged me that in the cases of missing people, certain actions can't be taken in a very timely manner, probably because there are things like warrants that have to be considered so that when something might end up in court, things don't fall over. They can't be dismissed, right? When Suzanne Morphew was reported missing, that Sunday night, immediately the bicycle was found, or a bicycle was found, just off the highway, just off the 225 at the entrance to the subdivision at Puma Path. And police, by all accounts, were immediately suspicious. Silly, naive me always assumed that police were dispatched immediately, perhaps from a Denver law enforcement agency, to go to the hotel and conduct investigations that end when everything's fresh. We've got a husband that is saying his wife's missing. There's a bicycle down the ravine. The police are suspicious. Don't they want to go and see if the wife is in the hotel, or if a lover is at the hotel, or what? Anything, right? And it's de rigueur, isn't it, to view security footage. Let's have a look. Let's see this person coming in, coming out, verify the story. This should be part of an investigation, particularly if it's a missing persons investigation. So I don't know what needs to happen so that jurisdictions can work better together, so that warrants can be gained more quickly, so that information can be gotten more quickly, because we know the police didn't go there quickly enough and do anything on the spot with regards to looking at tape, looking at security camera footage, because Jeffrey Puckett handed the insurance document over to feds. Okay, not to the county sheriff that was down there in Denver, not to Broomfield police, but to the feds. Now, I don't know if he means the FBI or the CBI, I assume the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the feds, who weren't there in the days immediately following Suzanne's reported disappearance, right? And if things were in place so that an investigation could run in that way, then what would have happened is rubbish skips, wherever they've been emptied, or before they were even emptied, all their contents could have been examined, and maybe there'd be evidence used in court. Maybe there wouldn't have been anything found of interest, but maybe there would have been, right? But instead, Jeffrey Puckett is not handing this over to someone that's arrived there on the Monday or Tuesday, right, to investigate at the hotel, talk to staff, view the footage, go to site, talk to Barry's staff. No, this was to the feds. It just seems ridiculous to me. Also, Jeffrey managed to confirm something that I've been quite sure of and spoken about, is that yes, Morgan did get paid. Perhaps what Morgan was talking about when she talks about henchmen coming and saying, well, we'd give you this money, but wouldn't look good. Maybe they were talking about a severance pay because she was never going to work for Barry again. I don't know. But Jeff Puckett did say that him and the two other people that were working the site at Broomfield got paid their hourly wage. Okay. Now, Longhorn Ranch has always been of curiosity to me, and I think I made my first video about that on June 30th, 2020. That whole site, that development, has been a contentious one for that area, for the Salida area, because you've got the people on the side of nature conservation who recognize the area as a heritage spot for animals, how important it is, with the river there, with the life in the river and the life the river gives to the plains there for all sorts of wild animals, including birds that hunt across plains and all sorts of native animals. And the site is a beautiful site. It's so close to town. It is a perfect place for someone that's maybe elderly like Shirley Morphew, to have a place there to live in, so that she's close to infrastructure such as hospitals, community groups, shopping, etc., right? It makes perfect sense. Now, don't think that Morphew had this site and then sold it after Suzanne went missing. Although I actually had, I don't know why, but I thought they had two sites. One that they were possibly building their own house on and one for Shirley. And then one was sold. But anyway, the site that was sold, it was purchased on the 25th of June and it was sold very soon after at a loss. Now, this property is really coveted, but with everything holding up the development hadn't started. So, of course, the property developer holds all the cards in terms of negotiating for a buyback price, because it hasn't yet built up in desirability and worth. You know, the land is yet undeveloped. No one's, putting their homes in there anymore. The demand hasn't grown exponentially, with the rarity of the plots as they get sold. So, if you're down to the last plot, it's a beautiful location. People can see the gorgeous homes being built there. Maybe they'll pay $250,000 for the land and not $169,000 or $165,000. Okay, so in June, by June 25th, was Morphew feeling like, yes, I'll buy this land, but very soon after start feeling like, oh gee, well, I need all the money I can get for a defense. I mean, really, back then, that soon? Possibly. But he was going to sell his Puma Path home, which he had equity in. He knows he's going to take a loss at Longhorn Ranch. Why? I mean, Barry's the wheeler and dealer that doesn't want to make a loss on anything. He's going to make money wherever he can, right? And in whatever way he can, I guess. So why buy and sell this land at a loss in such quick succession? To me, it's so weird. It's nearly like a payment of 10 or 15,000. But I don't know, maybe soon after it was purchased, Shirley said, look, I just can't do it. I don't want to do this. And they sold it. But it would have been such a great investment. Okay, this land is an investment. It's worth so much more just to hold on to until the end. They'd still be able to sell it back to the property developer. Why lose 10 or 15,000 so early? Okay, no, I do not think Suzanne is on this land, because obviously if you're giving up title to this land, then you can't protect whatever might be buried there, right? So that doesn't make sense at all, but there is something weird about it. That's for sure. So many development companies would want to be winning the contracts to do the landscaping, to build the homes, etc. A company such as Barry Morphew Landscaping, or whatever he was going under, to, you know, create the entranceways, to excavate, to build walls, to do plantings along the avenues, to maybe win contracts to do individual homes there with plantings. That's millions of dollars, and more established people in the community would not have wanted a blow-in winning that contract. I can't imagine Barry Morphew not trying to get that work. And maybe a good faith payment of, hey, $10,000, $15,000. I don't know. I don't know. So shonky. So there's something fishy to do with Longhorn Ranch, and I don't know what it is, but I'm sure people with good investigative skills and abilities to private eye into things in America might be able to find out. A lot of people say, oh, you know, Suzanne's buried under a tree. If you're going to bury a body under a tree, there's going to be growth all around that tree, lushness, during seasons when other trees might really be suffering, losing their leaves. You're going to have one tree that's very strong, very green. So maybe you might bury other things under other trees so that it doesn't look out of place. Maybe you'd bury elk and other things under trees. But, you know, if you're out there searching because you think someone was buried, you'd be looking for the tree that the composition of a body underneath it is feeding that tree, and it's having a growth spurt that other trees aren't having. It's retaining its leaves longer. The ground around it is covered in foliage and moss and grasses and all sorts of things. That's just sounds very dark, but that's how it is. So that's what, it's too late now to look out for that sort of thing, maybe, I don't know. But at the time, in the months after, that certainly would have been a clue. But it doesn't take a rocket scientist. As dense, as dull as Barry is, he could probably work out to put things under other trees, right? In AK Rox's live, he was saying that he believes that Barry doesn't know where Suzanne is, and this would be a point, this would be a cause of extreme anxiety, wouldn't it? If you didn't know, but you knew that someone had put her somewhere, you would be continually over vigilant about where are they going to turn up, and is this going to expose me, sort of thing. I don't know. But would that make you want to keep vigil over your old home? I don't know. Who bought the Puma Path house? Didn't that fall through though? People talk about Barry having a lot of money, and I'm really not sure that it's true. Or it does concern me what he would have to do to get money. For example, to get in very quick time the money to give back to the Mormon family, because the Indiana home hadn't sold. Suzanne and Barry owed $100,000. This was demanded back before the equity was gotten out of the Indiana home. Barry came up with that money. So Was he selling a lot of deer? Antler, what was he doing? You know, what did he have to do or decide to do to make that money? And then you hear that he's got millions of dollars. Well, he did sell an Indiana home, which he had equity in with Suzanne. That is true, because he insisted early in their marriage that they purchase that not with a loan in the bank, from the bank, but with their own money. And I think that's admirable. So he had that equity, and then of course he would have had some equity from Puma Path, except didn't that sale fall through? I actually thought that sale fell through, but then there are new owners in there now. So even if he got 1.5 million and 1 million, yeah. Who knows who was chasing him for money. I'm not sure how much of this money. He's definitely not going to have any money after this court case, because his lawyers are going to fleece him for everything he's got and more. But it's just so frustrating. I had assumed as soon as he purchased Longhorn Ranch, warrant, it was searched. No, it was Vanessa, the true crimer, who brought that to my attention, that no, they hadn't been there. And since she mentioned that they've never been there, they weren't there on that September search. They were at the Longhorn Ranch on the corner property, actually two sections over on those rocks. That's not Barry's property. That's not the property that the title, that it's not the property he had the title on for a short time. So they've never actually been on that land during even the course of the period of time that he had that title. And someone did not quickly go to Broomfield Hotel, check out Barry's story immediately, search to see if Suzanne was there, look at the camera footage. If they had looked at the camera footage in a timely manner, they would have checked the trash bins before they're emptied or soon after, because soon after it can be tracked to where it's gone, and you can go through the rubbish tips. Investigations do that, and they do find what they're looking for, but too much time had gone past. So maybe I'll link my Longhorn Ranch videos. They're just very brief, just talking about the development site, just some ponderings about the sale of it. Because if he's, selling other properties where he's got all this equity, why would you just get rid of that to take a loss? The fees on the land, like we pay rates here in Australia, right? Can't have been that much to pay for, to keep the land for a year or something, because it's clearly, is that, it makes me wonder, does he realize that development's never going ahead or something? I don't know. To this day, I'm not sure that anything's been built there yet. This will be costing the property developer a lot of money. And the property developer, as I might have said, he's the one with the leverage. He's the one with the power. When you're desperate to sell something back that you just bought, he's under no obligation to give you all your money back. He's going to make a little bit of money. And he did, because, this person is desperate. But why was this person desperate? Was it desperation or an agreement? It's so queer. Anyway, this is rambly. don't really even want to post anything on Morphew case because of the hate and the trolling, and my mental health just can't cope with it. I have been through hell and back about this case, which is why I don't discuss it. Could talk about Trump. Got a few things to say about that. That'll bring the same vitriol, but you know, I mean, Trump's got over 80% of the support from within his Republican Party, right? He's got more than, is it DeSantis? He's got much more support than DeSantis, who is a lot younger. But DeSantis, he's got time ahead of him. He can still be a young president in his late 40s or 50s. He's got a wife that is ill. It's not the time to be running for president. Trump's got all the support. Trump's got more support than Biden, right? With all the bitching that goes on, I think he's beating him by 5%. 5%. This is McLaughlin online, the poll done by them. You know, Biden is dictatorial, but he's also demented. The guy is ill. The guy is desperately ill. He's actually being tortured. Biden is being mistreated. Biden needs to rest, receive medical care, and yet he is being used as a muppet, as a puppet, right? It's distressing to watch. He's clearly regressing, or, well, you know, he's clearly losing cognitive function day by day. He is not helping world events. He's led the way for other dictators to ruin countries, and it's very sad. Beyond sad, it is a living nightmare. So, you know, you've got Biden up there who, well, I can't talk, but he can barely string a sentence together clearly. He doesn't know where he is. And people, whether you like to hear it or not, would rather have Trump. Trump, who, yeah, now, years ago, I've called him, oh gosh, he's a blithering fool because of the way he talks. He's bizarre, but he is a very sharp person, and I still believe it. He's a patriot. You'll have people on the other side, you know, on the Democrat side, who will tell you they are convinced that Trump brought down the 911, Trump brought down the towers, okay? Not Bush or Cheney or anyone like that, but, you know, somehow Donald Trump did this. But through it all, people would still rather have him. Why? Because he just makes sense as a leader. What's scary is you're going to have Hillary, and Hillary will be in it for Agenda 2030, won't she? And, yeah, then we're all going to know about it.